Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar, How to Protect Data in a FinServ RAG Pipeline. My name is Matt Brown, and I'll be your moderator today. One of my main jobs at SingleStore is to organize weekly AI webinars. We do 2 per week, demoing data, AI, use cases, and new tools and technologies. Post about these upcoming webinars every week, so if these topics are interesting to you, feel free to connect with us, and hopefully we'll see you again at a future session. Speaking of future sessions, you go to the next slide, you'll see that just tomorrow we have another session. It's titled Beginner's Guide to Vector Embeddings. Madhukar, can you click to the next slide? Thanks. You can come see an intro session and a live demo, one back, Madhukar, on how to generate and store vector embeddings. This is intro level for beginners, but you can come see that live demo on the data and building blocks for embeddings and modern AI and LL applications. So if this topic is interesting to you, go ahead and RSVP right now. There's a short link on your screen. I'll put that in the chat in a minute, or you can just take a photo or screenshot of that QR code that's on your screen right now, and that'll take you to the same place. Okay, back to today's topic. We would love for you to participate in the discussion throughout the session. There's a Q&A button at the bottom of your Zoom console. We have an internal mission statement to answer 100% of audience questions, even if that means following up with folks via email afterwards. So please include your name and email address before you ask any questions. We will not be answering any anonymous questions. We'd also love for you to try out what we're showing today. So anyone who tries it today will be entered for a chance to win either new AirPods Pros or Meta's new Ray-Ban LLM smart glasses. It'll be your choice. All you need to do to participate in this raffle is visit this link that's on your screen. I will put this link in the chat in a minute as well. And all you need to do is log in. You may know that SingleStore has had a free trial offer for several years, but just in the past few weeks, we've also introduced an entirely free shared tier, which we can talk a little bit more about later today. But again, all you need to do, visit that link, log in. If you've got an account, awesome. You're eligible once you log in, or just sign up for that free tier, and that'll also make you eligible. I'll announce the winner at the end of today's session. Let me introduce our speakers very quickly. Madhukar is the Chief Developer Evangelist at SingleStore. He originally has a background in software engineering. More recently, he has been leading product marketing and product management teams in the cloud data industry. We also have Amar, who is the founder and CEO at Protecto, whose mission is to solve data protection and privacy issues for a future of trustworthy AI applications. Welcome to our speakers. Madhukar, I believe you have the floor first.
Thanks, Matt. I want to linger on this slide a little bit because I do have one of these Ray-Bans, and I have to say it's a really good headphones. Like if you're just listening to music and you're wearing this, it works perfectly, although it does have a little bit of sound leak. All right, it's good to be back doing a webinar again after a little while. We did one yesterday with Google, although that was a live event as well. And one thing that still surprises me as well as gets a chuckle out of me is the first question in every webinar we get is this being recorded and is this going to be shared? And the answer is yes and yes. So I wanted to kick off today's webinar by talking a little bit about the evolution of RAG. And if you have been following us, if you have been attending our webinars for the last 15 months or so, we started talking about RAG, or retrieval augmented generation. We were calling it in-context learning. And what it is at a very high level, in case it's still new to you, is your large language model is frozen in time on the data that has been trained on. But if you want to use your data, which is petabytes of data sitting in your data warehouse or in your transactional database, both in structured and unstructured format, then you want the LLM to quote unquote know about that data and then give it that context when somebody asks a question. So typically there are 3 ways to do it. One is you would completely do a full lobotomy of the LLM, wipe out and create a brand new training set, and then you retrain the LLM. And that's not for everybody. Although Bloomberg has created its own transformer LLM, but there are, that's very few and far in between. The second one is fine-tuning. Fine-tuning is more for the behavior of the large language model, and it's typically done with queries and responses. So I could create a data set, and we did this with Google yesterday, so I'm going to just touch upon that very quickly today. You typically give it a JSON-L or some sort of a data set which has a query and a response, and then you use some libraries to fine-tune it, and now it starts to behave in a slightly different way. But fine-tuning is not really for knowledge addition, it's more for behavioral change. And then the last piece is retrieval augmented generation, or RAG, which eventually means that when somebody asks a question, you take that data, you first convert it into a vector or an embedding, and then a lot of the unstructured data that you have, you want to search against that. And there are typical two ways to do it: through semantic search. One is cosine similarity, the other one is Euclidean distance. And once you get back the data, you match it. Then you take that data and give it to the LLM and say, okay, now answer this question, but based on this context. And RAG was a very naive way of doing stuff earlier, but now it has gone from having a very prototypical attribute to now going into production. There are a lot of companies, at least we work with, they're using retrieval augmented generation to build their own customer support copilot, which could be not just to answer questions, but it has real-time data access, and they're using it to also create a support ticket, update a support ticket, and so on. So there are three key umbrellas, or I would say strategies for advanced RAG. One is when you're giving the context to the LLM, the context has to be rich. And by richness, I mean it has to have the knowledge of entities within your data set, how are they connected to other entities in your data set or in your data store. And second, if the knowledge is as fresh as possible. Because as you know, in any organization, your data is being generated every milliseconds. So if you are doing some sort of a batch job where you're converting some data into embeddings, and most of the vector-only databases, for example, you cannot query the data right away even after you've created embeddings, then you have a problem. Then your large language model is answering questions that is outdated, which could be harmful as well. Second, you want it to be accurate, so that's where knowledge graphs come in, and you can build a very sophisticated knowledge graph on top of SingleStore just by entity tables. Second is, of course, multimodal RAG. Like if you are using a typical vector-only database, then it only stores the embedding and a very small amount of metadata. So you make a call to your vector database, you get back the metadata, then you go to another data, then you bring that original chunk, and so on. But more multimodal RAG includes audio, video, images. And in that case, you need a place to store that data, which is very close to the original embeddings as well. So multi-model databases and data platform comes into play. And the third thing that we have started to see is you want to have explainability, you want to have a way to be able to also look at how accurate the response was. These could be some things related to your compliance or regulatory. Sorry, give me one second. So in that case, you also might need your analytics. Like, okay, somebody has asked this question before, and I want to store it, but I also want analytics of it. So it's the richness of the response as well. And then, of course, as part of all of this, what you also want to pay a lot of attention to, and that's where we have our partners Protecto here that will talk about it, is data privacy. And if you are directly calling OpenAI, you're directly calling Cohere or whatever it is, even though they don't use your API data for training, you're still sending PII data maybe directly over the wire. So how do you make sure that it is protected? How do you make sure it is masked accordingly without compromising the accuracy and the response of the data that you're uploading? And I'm talking about not just any direct access to database, but also CSV files that you might be uploading. So one of the ways is to, of course, fine-tune the model, like I said. And what fine-tuning allows you to do is if you're in a regulatory industry like financial services or maybe even cybersecurity, then you can quickly and easily, you can fine-tune your models. And here's an example of Google Vertex AI, which you can just go in, visually take your data set, upload it to a Google bucket, and then you can fine-tune it and start to access it. So for specific behavior, you can take specific models and then fine-tune it further. Now, a few other things for advanced RAG is, of course, evaluations. And evaluations is looking at the responses that's coming back from your RAG pipeline, and then you're basically fine-tuning it or making sure that the response is accurate. So you change your application a little bit and how it behaves. So one of the things that I came across is called RAGTune. There are other GitHub libraries as well called Ragas, which are really good libraries to just give you the evaluations associated with your RAG pipeline. Second is context mining. So it's not just your vectors, but it's also taking into account your structured data as well. And that's where you might take streaming data, something like a Kafka, or you might go into SingleStore and create an entity graph out of your data as well. That's a separate demo and a separate webinar. I guess we are looking to either do or we have done in the past. And the third thing is guardrails. So maybe you don't want all your responses to go to your RAG pipeline, because a question that is asked is probably better answered directly by an LLM since it already has that knowledge. So guardrails allow you to do that, which is effectively, it becomes your router to your RAG pipeline. And in that case, you can also use it to further remove any biases or even harmful questions that might come in, because guardrails will then take any queries that's coming in and says, oh, okay, this is actually going to be against my regulation, or this is asking for things that's illegal or unethical. So it won't even respond with the RAG pipeline. It directly goes and responds to the user directly from there. And if you take this a little bit further, then this also becomes like your semantic cache, where if there's a particular kind of question that's coming quite a lot, you would cache it, and you could use SingleStore for that, but Guardrails also has a library for it. Now, there are three other things that I've seen quite a lot more recently. One is explainability, like especially in FinServ or in banking and stuff. When you get back an answer, you want to have a record of what did the large language as well as your application do in order to get that answer. You have to have an audit of explainability. So 𝙬𝙬𝙧𝙖𝙀, which is a new product that came out of LangChain, it's a paid product, but you can try it for free, gives you that. So what you see on the screenshot is when I do a simple RAG-based pipeline query with OpenAI, it gives me every single response. In fact, it also will tell you how much is your tokens that you used and what was the latency and so on and so forth. And what it's also added, which is in its very early stage, but you can go try it out, is retraining on the fly. So if a user puts a thumbs up or a thumbs down based on a response it got, you can store that in a data source within 𝙬𝙬𝙧𝙀, and then you can use that data to further fine-tune or maybe change the behavior of your data. The last piece, which is often ignored, but when it comes to enterprises and when it comes to especially financial services, is data privacy and security. And in that's where I would have Amar, who's the CEO for Protecto, come talk a little bit more about it. But this is a big challenge in the sense, I was talking to somebody day before yesterday, and that person was saying, we are in banking and we have banned ChatGPT from the entire organization. But we know that people are still using it on their phones, and they are still sharing data that could be compromised. Now, a typical problem with sending data over the internet is that if it's personally identified information, you can take a naive approach of masking it. But if you mask it, then you lose the data integrity because it has to be done in a simple and a very logical way, which is, again, what Amar is going to talk about. So at this point, what I wanted to do is just do a quick introduction of what is SingleStore, because you've heard me talk about it for a little bit. And if this is your second or third time, you already know, so you can, maybe close your ears. But the way I describe SingleStore is it's a data platform that you use for building any modern applications like your rideshare or any web app that you're building. It's especially good for in-app analytics. So if you're building something like Strava or Oura Ring, where you're showing a lot of stats, especially in real time, and you're doing that analytics across petabytes of data in a few milliseconds, then those apps are also really well suited for SingleStore. And finally, for Gen AI application, because it has both support for semantic search as well as exact keyword search. And I'll talk a little bit more about it. In terms of our history, we started off, so we are not new. We started in 2011, and we were known as MemSQL. And from MemSQL, because it was an in-memory distributed SQL database, we came up with a patented technology that moves the data from in-memory to your local disk and then to object stores, but it also stores that data in a patented technology called SingleStore or universal storage, which means it is stored as both row and columnar data. And because it's both row and columnar, you can run analytics right away, even across hundreds of millions of rows, like in a few milliseconds, which is group by as well as average sum and those kind of things. The other thing I would call out is in 2017, we added vectors, and that's when the Google paper on the transformer came out. And since then, we have had several customers using semantic search in production. And of course, in 2023, that's when most of the Gen AI stuff happened, and they were all using vectors. So if there's one key takeaway about SingleStore is that we do both semantic and full text search. We do both transactions workload as well as analytics workload, and we manage and handle and support for any kind of data type, including, of course, SQL, JSON, time series, key value, geospatial, and so on. I'll skip this because you can go read about this on our website. Now, one thing I will add here, in January, we added some new features into our data platform. One is we added 3 additional ANN, or approximate nearest neighbor indices, for vectors. One is PQ, or product quantization. The other one is IVF, or inverted index. And the last one is HNSW, which is the most common, which is hierarchical navigable small word. All of these, if you can apply on the same data set, which is unique for us. And what is unique about PQ and IVF is, and actually it's true for SingleStore, is when you take any data and put it in SingleStore, it compresses it by 65%, especially if you're bringing in data from MySQL or Postgres. And when you do that, you're running it in memory, so your storage footprint is smaller. And because it's running in memory, we are doing an extremely fast commit. That means it's available for query right away. So unlike a data warehouse or even a vector-only database where you first make the commit, it goes all the way to your object storage, and then you have to wait for it to propagate across your nodes and so on, and then run your query. This is almost instantly, you are running it in transit. And of course, you can run multiple indices in one column, as I talked about. Why would you do that? Because maybe you have some queries that you need better accuracy, and other queries where you might need better speed or lower latency. We also added a special data type called vectors, although you can also store it as a JSON, which can then be stored as a blob. The reason why you want to store it as a vector data type is because it ensures strong typing or strict typing. And under the hood, we also use Lucene for exact keyword match. So if you combine all of this, what it allows you to do is you can bring in data in real time and you can vectorize it instantly. And we have pipelines from Kafka, MySQL, Mongo, and we also have connectors within LangChain, LlamaIndex, Flowwise, OpenAI. So your data is coming in, it is in real time getting created as vectors, and you instantly start to run your queries. And all the queries that you have for hybrid search, which includes a dot product for semantic, Euclidean distance, and also an exact keyword match and a join with other tables to get all of that data in one single SQL query across petabytes of data in a few milliseconds now becomes a reality. So that's why the Gen AI capabilities of what you can do with SingleStore becomes a differentiator. So now I'm going to invite Amar and have him talk a little bit about our partnership, but also what is Protecto and what is he seeing in especially industries as well as large enterprises where you are, there's data privacy as well as masking and all is a big deal. So Amar, let me ask you, do you want to share the slides from your computer or you want me to keep hitting
This is fine, Madhu. We can continue with the current slide. Hey, thank you, Madhu. I'm Amar. I'm the founder CEO of Protecto. Bit about myself. Prior to this, I co-founded a company called FileCloud. Been in the data and enterprise space for a long time. I used to be part of Microsoft Search and AI team. So bit about Protecto. So when we meet customers, there are a lot of interest in Gen AI. People kick off POCs because frameworks like LangChain, all these things have reduced the barrier to create something like a RAG, right? So a lot of POCs are happening, but the problem is they are not graduating to production, right? So I'll show value to inside my organization. Hey, you can put this data, ask questions, you'll get answers. You will not go into production, right? Why, right? So one of the primary reasons is, hey, my accuracy is not high. The second biggest problem is I haven't thought through privacy and security, hence my company will not allow me to launch this app, right? So how do you solve these problems and make your applications be enterprise ready and also production ready? That is what Protecto helps with. I'll go in much detail. If we go to the next slide, So, the team is just quickly about the team. We have Bhaskar, our CTO, and Pratik as our COO. The team comes with a strong data experience. Each of us have close to 20 plus years of experience in building applications, building solutions, especially around enterprise data and privacy and security. All right, let's go to the next slide. Okay, so let me step back and give a couple of use cases first. Right? One is we had a customer who wanted to do a RAG to answer questions on HR, right? HR questions, right? Hey, is my policy? What is my leave policy? What is my reimbursement policy? Things like those, right? So the problem is each of the countries and geographies have different policies. So what they started doing is, hey, they try to attempt that with the prompt engineering. They will add something in the prompts when nobody's asking question like, I'm an US employee, give me my leave policy, right? I'm just going to ask what is my leave policy, right? So they tried with the prompt engineering. They got some accuracy, but accuracy was failing. And in some cases, the data I shouldn't be seeing within an organization. I shouldn't be seeing some other country's policy. I was able to see. So a lot of issues, they couldn't go to production, right? Because they had accuracy problems, they have role-based access problems, which is about security, right? Then how do they solve this, right? So one side of things is, hey, I will build my own RAG. I'll start from, take the data, I'll build a framework and launch it. Another way is use a framework like what we call SecRAG, which is Protecto's version of a secure RAG optimized for enterprise. You hook up your data. We give you the controls. In fact, we give you a no-code setup. so that you can optimize the output, right? You can optimize what data you're going to connect, right? If you have data in SingleStore, we are integrated with SingleStore. So all your data comes into FinServ RAG, already privacy and security built in. We have few controls for you to launch your own AI assistants with a high accuracy, right? You get the controls. So quickly you can take your data, which is already in SingleStore, and bring it to FinServ RAG and launch your own AI assistant with very minimal code or no code, right? That's our idea, with privacy and security built in, right? So now you are enterprise ready. You can show a POC and take the same application and go into enterprise production within your organization, right? If you go to the next slide, there are two main problems when I keep saying privacy security. There are two main problems. I'll go deeper into this. One is role-based access. When you say role-based access, you have all our traditional applications have been built on role-based access, meaning certain people have certain access to the data, and each application from which they are accessing, it has been controlled, right? A manager asks a question, they'll get a different answer. If somebody else is asking a question or interacting with the application, will get a different answer, right? But in a GenAI application, this role-based access is very complex. I'll tell you why and how Protecto is helping. That is one problem, right? Second problem is privacy. If you're taking some patient data or financial data and bringing it into a RAG, one is you're going to send it to LLM. That is one side of risk. Even that risk, if you reduce it by running your own models within your organization, that's even reduce it. But once you load the data into your RAG, that data is visible to your audience, right? Your users. How do you control PII from leaking? I'll give a couple of use cases and why and how Protecto helps. Two major problems when it comes to privacy and security in enterprise. One is I want to control who sees my data based on role, because all the data I'm getting in is based on roles. So I want to apply the same controls inside GenAI. That's one problem. Second is privacy. I have a lot of sensitive information. One is sharing with LLMs, so one side of problem. Even within an organization, if I load into the model or load it into the RAG, it might leak within the users. How to control this? These two are the main problems we solve when it comes to privacy and security. Yeah, next slide. Go to the next slide. So yeah, so let's take a simple example. This is a real world use case. One of our customers, they are building a support bot, right? It will help your support agents answer questions faster and much more accurately. That's their idea. But the problem is they have some high value clients like banks. So the people who are supporting these banks shouldn't look at the bank's data, right? So if I'm going to ask a question on a particular error code appeared, right? And if the question is for a Chase bank, I shouldn't be looking at Wells Fargo's data to answer this question, right? So how do you do this? In a regular world, we have role-based access based on the folders. Only certain folders are visible, certain tickets are visible within ServiceNow. All these things are controlled. But once you import into a RAG, all this data is converted into vectors and stored in a vector DB. Now you ask this question, right? Any user who is interacting with the RAG, the RAG will pull the data across all the data, right? From documentation, Chase, Wells Fargo, every data will come out, which is a big violation for them. Makes sense, right? They have role-based access. If you hit a couple of, in the slide, there are a few animation. Yeah. So, right. So RAG will pull all the data from all the folders and even from Wells Fargo and give you the answers, right? Which is a big problem. What Protecto can do is it understands you have role-based access outside. It can bring the same role-based access inside your RAG, right? So I'm just hoping if any questions, please let me know. If not, I'll keep going. So why is it hard? If you go to the next slide, is there any way I can control the slides, Madhu? If I click, will it move? If you give the control, let me know. Okay, so if you are trying to build this on your own vector DB, what happens is you will create separate collections for each roles you are creating, right? So, for example, in this case, if you are having a documentation, Wells Fargo, things like those, and you have different roles accessing different folders, what you will do is you create a separate collection for each role. And when that particular person comes and asks a question, you will go fetch data from there, right? This is extremely brittle and cumbersome because each time your role is going to change, you're going to create a collection, or you're going to bringing all the data into vector DB and start processing this again, right? Maintaining this is a very complex process, and it takes and any changes to any set of the data or your roles, you are going to rebuild your whole embeddings, everything. It's expensive as well. It takes time, but also expensive as well. What Protector does is, right? If you go to the next slide, yeah. So what Protector does is it abstracts the ACLs for you, right? Whatever ACL access control list you maintain outside your RAG, we take that, we apply the same ACL on your vector DB, right? Or in your RAG. So if somebody from who's supporting Wells Fargo is asking a question, when the answer is generated for them, the same access control list which they had outside will be applied, and they will only see the data they are supposed to see, right? So far, so good. Any questions, let me know. Please post it on the chat. I can answer those questions. So let's talk about privacy. Here is an example where a customer wanted to build a privacy, right? The privacy specific, privacy preserving RAG. What they want to do is they want to bring sensitive patient data into the RAG, and they want to build a RAG that can answer questions on what is the best possible care for the patient, what is the best possible plan, right? What are the recommendations, things like that. The problem is the data, once it comes into this RAG, there are a bunch of people who want, who you need to validate the answers. These are your AI engineers and doctors. They have to make sure this AI is, this RAG system is actually giving the right answers. So think of this bunch of validators who will access the data, and there will be a bunch of real doctors who want to help the patient to access the data. The people who are validating shouldn't look at the full unmasked data of the patient, right? It will be a big privacy violation, right? Somebody with a name, their SSN, everything is visible to the testers, validators. That's a big no-no, right? Because it's a big privacy violation. How do you build such a solution? That's where Protector comes in. What Protector does is, when that sensitive data comes in, we have a special way of masking in such a way that data inside your model is totally intact, meaning the data integrity is maintained, the value of the data is maintained, but the PIs will be masked, right? Personally identified information, sensitive information will be masked. All your RAG, all your answers, questions will be based on the masked data. Even your people who are validating, testing, everybody will be looking at them only at the masked data. Only for the people who have authorization, it will be unmasked, right? I can quickly show a demo as well. So this helps you to protect your data within your RAG. Even some attack happens, this data leaks, still it will be masked, right? If we are passing some kind of compliance, your data, like data residency, right? You want to limit the data, people who are interacting with this model, if they're outside of US, they shouldn't look at any PI, or outside of Europe, they shouldn't look at any PI. You can control it. So this we call it the privacy preserving RAG. This also is part of our SEC RAG. Now, if you go to the next slide, one of the big questions we get is, hey, why is your data masking better than others, right? I have data masking had been there for a few years. I can use a regular data masking. Why should I use protectors? Let's take a simple example here. There are two people, like this is a very simple example. In your real world, the data will be very complex. Your RAG will start giving really inaccurate answers, hallucinate and everything. In a simple question, simple data like this, where Sophia and Eva are exchanging phone numbers and email addresses. If there's a simple question of what is Sophia Smith's email, the model can connect the dots and answer this question, no problem, right? But however, if this is been masked with a regular masking, now Sophia Smith is converted to P1 and Eva Chen is to P2, and anytime it is going to give a random numbers or tokens for this. Now, if you ask the question, what is Sophia Smith or is P1's email? There's no connection between P1 and P4, right? And there's no connection between P4 and the email. So your models will start failing, right? So one, you will lose some critical data and critical connections that will impact your accuracy, that will prevent you from going into production, right? So if in case of Protecto, if you click next, right, we maintain the consistency. The way we encode this PI, we mask the PI, we tell what type of entity it is. We maintain the connection and consistency so that the model understands and it can answer questions, even though we are dealing with a sensitive data, right? We are dealing with the masked sensitive data. So think of the previous example I gave. Your data is coming in a clear text, right? Like Sophia Smith, Eva, phone number, everything. If you go through regular masking, your data will be fragmented, your data integrity will be lost, you lose a lot of value in the data, and your model accuracy will dramatically fall. If you use Protector, we mask your data, but we maintain the connections in and encode the data in certain way that model will understand the data, give you accurate results. This way you can build RAG on a mass data itself, right? This, if you go to the next slide. So this, we do it through many steps. Other masking tools, they stop at just identifying and masking. We identify, mask, we preserve the format, we preserve consistency, we preserve the contextual understanding. Many things we do so that your data is, your accuracy doesn't fall. So if I have to summarize, you're building RAG for your enterprise, right? For a POC, you don't care about privacy, security, even some level of accuracy, you don't care. You quickly want to show value, you can do it, right? But once you show the POC and now you're thinking of, hey, I want to make it enterprise ready, then privacy, security, and accuracy becomes a problem, right? Now, if you try to use your existing POC and convert it into enterprise grade applications, very hard because you will face these kind of problems: privacy, security, role-based access, everything. Protecto offers SecRAG, which is completely packaged for you with the right setup so that you can launch your enterprise grade RAG very quickly and with all the bells and whistles you need for an enterprise grade application, right? And we integrate with the SingleStore. If you have the data in SingleStore, it's very easy to integrate, very easy to launch, right? That is a quick summary of what we offer. I can quickly show how the privacy preserving works. I'll just show, if you can allow, yeah. So quickly I'll show a quick example.
And Amar, there was one question from the audience.
Sure.
In one of your slides, somebody asked, is this entity linking or is this different?
So we sort of, but it's not, because we maintain the consistency when we give the tokens. We have the mapping of the data in our secure vault, and that's how we connect this. Each time we see the same name or a entity, we are going to give the same token. That connection is maintained in our Protecto vault, right? There are a few more questions on other things like or backs. I'll come back to it. I'll show a quick demo, then I'll answer these questions. So here, I'll show you a simple example. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
So let's in the screen, what we have done is in this example, we have connected to OpenAI and we have put Protecto in between, right? Protecto's APIs in between. So whatever I'm typing will be filtered by the Protecto APIs before sending it to OpenAI. Similarly, think of this can be done at the data ingestion or when you create, when you bring the data inside your RAG, right? Across the board, you can use the same APIs. In this case, I'm typing a clear text, write an email to John Smith, giving some PI data in here, and I'm sending this data into OpenAI. Now, what Protector does is, before it's sending, it is identifying what is sensitive and replacing with all the right encoding. The model was able to understand this data, right, which is all without the PI. It answered the question, and we have put the original data back and shown it to you, right? From a user point of view, they're just going to interact like this, right? I'm going to type a PI and get answers in the PI, but none of the PI is actually hitting the model, right? Only this is going to the model. The model is processing only this information and giving the answers back, and we are putting the original data back and showing you the results, right? It's any questions on this one, let me know. But this shows the power of Protecto. It is real time. It is identifying. It can identify accurately, replace it without losing the value of the data. That is the key, because model is giving a very accurate answer in this case, right? So that is the power of Protecto. So if you're using, you're building a RAG and you're thinking of privacy security, if you use a regular masking or you're trying to do something in-house, what will happen is your accuracy will dramatically fall. You will not get the answers that you're expecting.
So one question, Amar, I see there's an upload file or drag and drop as well. So this thing works with the CSV as well?
Absolutely.
Like I have a bunch of PI data in it?
Yeah, absolutely. So what you can do is you can upload a PDF or a CSV, right? You can just drag and drop, and it will, the same level of masking, it will apply on the files as well, right? And you can chat on the file. And again, that none of the PI is actually hitting the servers. It is only, I can quickly show that as well. You will be interacting in PI, but actually the PI is not hitting any of your servers. I mean, your LLMs. Let me show you. I'm going to open this. Right, a simple PDF.
We cannot see the PDF, Amar.
Okay, I'm just trying to move this. It's a simple PDF where two people are, it's a call notes, right? There are an agent and a customer information. So I'm going to drop this PDF into our upload function here. So what you will see is it is instantaneously uploaded and it masked the data, and it has masked all the information which is critical, like person, all those things. Now I can ask questions on summarize the PDF, right? The top one. Right. So it is giving the accurate answers as if the PI exists, but actually the PI is not going to the LLM, right? It is talking about only the users are seeing this. The only LLM is seeing this without the PI. Right? But answers are very accurate because we have this special way of masking. Right. So I'll just stop here in terms of the demo. We can continue on the slide. I can answer some of the questions people have asked. So let me ask some of the questions. So
Yeah.
I'm going to pick just whatever the newest and go backwards. So it is encrypted end to end from our side. So all the data is stored by Protecto is encrypted. You bring your own keys. We rotate the keys. There are separate white paper on privacy and security. Please reach out. We can share the information on privacy and security. So the data you can use Protecto anywhere, right? You can use it as a secure RAG to build the whole RAG, or you can use our APIs either to filter in your response or filter your input or filter your context. Yeah, I'll give you 3 different examples. One of our customers, what they wanted is, my data will have PI, that's okay, but nobody can ask a question on PI, right? So anytime somebody types a PI in the prompt, Protecto will look at it and will mask it. In fact, they wanted to just block it. It can block it. That's one way of integrating just on the prompt. Another customer said, anybody can ask anything, but my response will never have PI. So they put it on the response, right? So filtered all the responses. So you can put it either before vectorizing or after vectorizing. If you use a RAG, we have a special way of how to do vectorizing, because you have to in fact import your role-based access, things like that. Then you have to use our SecRAG to bring your data in, right? If you want to use role-based access, that's on the vectorizing. Then so we don't deal with prompt engineering as such. That's not what we are doing. We are doing at your data level. So that's another question somebody asked.
Yeah, and Amar, if you don't mind just reading the question, then
sure. So the question is, what stage of prompt engineering does Protecto engage? How does it guard against jailbreaking prompt injection? So the question, we can filter your prompt, identify what is PI, replace it, right? That is one, right? We can do some level of safety measure if somebody is talking hatefully or with some kind of toxic content, we can block it. We don't do prompt injection. We don't prevent prompt injection or jailbreaking today. Right? We had it in the roadmap, but we don't do it today. So I have a question about RBACs, refers to beginners, medium, and advanced, or you can tackle individual level access for the doc. I'm having access without different. I think the question is, how granular can we control RBACs? It is up to your ACL, right? What level of granularity you have. Same thing we are going to bring into Protecto. Inside Protecto, you can add additional metadata to you can control it at the document level, right? You can go to the level of document, or you can control it at the attribute level. Anybody within the organization cannot access SSN, right? It doesn't matter, their manager, you can just do that, it'll filter it. Or you can say all the people within US can have access to names and phone numbers, but outside US, nobody can have access, right? That also you can do it by attribute. So RBACs can be at the granular level at which you are maintaining it, or you can introduce at the folder level or the attribute level. So another question is available SaaS or on-prem? We offer both SaaS and on-prem because this is for financial services and healthcare. Many want to run it on-prem. So we provide both SaaS and on-prem version. What I demoed is a SaaS version, on-prem is similar.
Amar, one other quick question. So that demo that you showed, is there also a trial that people can go and try out on their own, or do they need to get in touch with your team?
So the SecRAG, you have to get in touch with our team. We will we can enable it once you contact us. But we have if you are just want to play around just with the APIs, we have a sandbox environment. We have even a client, like it's called GPT Guard, just to play around our API. The demo I showed you, just want to experience yourself. That is a free trial, gptguard.ai. So you can just go, register and just play around. But if you want to do a SecRAG, then you contact us. We can enable it for you.
Got it. I'm putting the URL in the chat.
So, Matt, if you go back to the slides.
Madhukar, do you still have those up?
Yeah. This one?
If you go a couple of slides in the SEC RAG, our first slide. I want to stress one point because I see a few questions on it. Think of you when you are building an application, enterprise application, the framework you had, such as role-based access, masking, those things have to be rethought inside RAG, right? Because those controls don't exist here, right? Because you're going to break your data, vectorize it, and you're going to query it, and you're going to generate answers from it, right? So your traditional controls have to be rethought inside this new world, right? That's where we come in, and that is not in isolation. It is that has a it has a very big impact on your accuracy, performance, many things. So you cannot say, I would build something of a POC, later on I'll add privacy, security, and make it enterprise ready. That doesn't work that way, because each one is interlinked. So you have to think about privacy, security, accuracy, everything on the day one, so that your rate of success increases, because you are not stuck in the POC. You go to production a lot sooner and a lot more at a better rate, because we see many projects, 70–80% of projects are stuck in POC and they're not graduating to production, right? So that's what I want to stress. Think of Protecto as easy way to build your enterprise ready RAG. Right? That's the easiest way to think about us. Yeah, because you can use our APIs in different forms, but think of it as a enterprise grade RAG.
Good stuff. I see we're getting close to the end here. A few more minutes maybe before we announce the raffle winner. Amar or Madhukar, do you see any unanswered questions that you want to get to before we start wrapping things up?
Yeah, I see one which says, how do you manage huge real-time data and apply Gen AI on that? So as I explained earlier, you can take your data either and create 4 lines of code inside of SingleStore. We call it pipeline, and it could be a Kafka streaming data too. And while the data is coming in, you turn it into vectors, the ones that you want to create as vectors, and the other goes as simple structured data. And then you can start making queries against it almost immediately. So that's how some of our customers are using live real-time data in their Gen AI application.
Right.
There's a couple of other, Amar, that...
Yeah, I'll tackle some of them. One is pseudonymization. The question is, are measures like pseudonymization are realized by Protecto, or does need to be solved in the RAG? We will solve it for you. You need not think about how do I do it within RAG. The example I gave you, where some of your testers and your validators, they don't have access, but the real doctors have access. That is managed by Protecto, right? That's a pseudonymization case where data is masked only for selectively unmasking it. That is fully managed by Protecto. You need not do anything extra when you're building with Protecto. So another question is, will role-based access increase storage utilization cost as it gets more granular access? Protecto will not replicate and create multiple copies of your data, right? That's the advantage of Protecto. If you are doing it through other means, you'll create multiple collections and you will try to manage it. But if you're using Protecto, you're going to separate the data and your ACL away, right? Your data is stored as is, like in a vectorized format, but the ACL is managed by Protecto's layer, right? So you're not making copies of the data. You're not, you are not increasing cost. That's the advantage of using Protecto.
All right. Maybe because we are almost out of time, Matt, I'll let you take over. One thing I would say, Amar, if you can either give an email or someplace where people can reach out, that'll be great. If you have SingleStore related questions, Matt had put out an email. Easiest way to get in touch is just hello@singlestore.com. That any questions you might have, anything that we did not answer, we'll try and do a follow-up. I'll let Matt talk about it. But again, I'll repeat it. Just send an email to hello@singlestore.com and we'll try to respond as quickly as possible.
For Protecto, contact us at help@protecto.ai. That's the best way to reach us, and we'll answer your questions.
Awesome. Yeah, and keep the questions coming as we announce the AirPods, or the raffle winner, I should say, today, because like I said at the intro, we're going to try to follow up with everyone via email, even if we didn't get a chance to answer today during session. Quick note before we announce that today's raffle winner. As I mentioned during the intro, we do these webinars regularly on AI topics, and just tomorrow we're going to be presenting Beginner's Guide to Vector Embeddings. So if you're interested in learning more about generating and storing those vector embeddings that are so useful for these AI applications, we'd love to see you there. I've just put that link in the chat again. You can just click that, register, and hopefully we will see you tomorrow. Now for the announcement you've been waiting for. Today's raffle winner is Sandeep Gupta, the Global Head of Network for Visa in London, England. Thank you, Sandeep, for staying awake with us. Congrats. Thank you for joining us. If that's not you, don't give up. We're going to give out one more raffle winner today to a lucky winner who signs up. And again, that is your choice, either the Apple AirPod Pros or the Meta Ray-Bans, the smart glasses. So we're going to be sending out an email with this recording and some relevant resources for you. If you want to try this out or get in touch with us, we will give you those links in that email. And yeah, I want to thank Madhukar and Amar for awesome presentation and demo today. Thank you to our audience for joining us, and have a great rest of your day. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Matt. Thanks, everybody, for joining.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.